Hey, what's going on, guys? I want to go over 5 stocks today that I promised to do a little bit of analysis on for tomorrow. Getting into it, the first one that was announced was NVIDIA, NVDA. I always start my analysis on the 1 day chart. I like to look at the larger time frames and then work my way into the smaller time frames. So the first thing that I noticed on Nvidia is that we've had this nice uptrend, right? And we're kind of using like these 21 EMAs right here, 21 EMA, which is this orange line, and the 9 EMA, which is this blue line, as support. We've recently reclaimed this blue line here, which is the 200 EMA on the 1 day chart, and that's a pretty strong indicator that we are still moving up. Once we reclaimed it, we have this like pullback candle formation, right? We have this bullish cross here that formed on the 1 day from today. But what I really do like is that if I zoom out, so I drew this line quite a long time ago. We could see right here we bounced and then acted as resistance, and then twice right here, this line was used as a support and a resistance here. But we're holding true to this line, to this zone right here with these candles. So I can't say that I think Nvidia is bullish based off of this because what I really feel like Nvidia is doing right here with this little consolidation zone is waiting on earnings from AMD to be announced, which is tomorrow after market close. I think if AMD announces good earnings, Nvidia has room to the top side. We can see this zone right here. It has room to the top side to test 190, the 192 area. I'm not saying it's going to jump all the way up there on earnings, but AMD having good earnings definitely will help it. I feel like if they miss, we have room to come back down and test 167, which is this. I'm drawing that line off of this 21 EMA right here, that zone, because we could see bounce up, pulled back to it, bounce up, pulled back to it, right? So we've come up, and it would just make sense that we'd come back to either this zone or even back down to here and test this 50 EMA. Jumping into the 5 minute chart, not much to say on the chart for today. We all know we had this big sell off in the morning. What I do like though is that after it's sold off, rather than consolidating and closing down here at the 170 level, it remade its gains and actually closed right where it opened, right where it opened. So it made up all the ground from this morning sell off when it was following SPY, and I like that because it tells me that this push down right here was more of, if anything, was more of a fake out. But it is trading in this really wide $4 range from about 177 to 173. So we're kind of trading in this range. So as for tomorrow, I really expect this to break out. I don't really expect it to go any lower. I don't expect it to get up any higher. I kind of expect it to still range trade, maybe at least one more day and break out. But if it were to break out, these would be my levels right here. So maybe a short below 173, and I think a long above 177. But that's pushing it. I mean, maybe we'll see some pre-market movement to where it gets closer to these levels. But as it stands right now, it's right in the middle of this zone. So this probably would not make my watch list for tomorrow. EA was the second one. Okay, EA. So if we go into the 1 day chart, this it's not looking too good on the 1 day chart. So we could see here it was previously rejected by this blue line, which is the 200 EMA. We broke out of it a couple of times, so it's like a false breakout. Come right down below, false breakout, reject, 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 false breakout. Um, and then I've drawn this line from this zone here and a resistance zone here, so all this support right here, and then we broke below that. So now the next line that I see we're bouncing off of is right here at the $86 level. Um, and we're kind of like consolidating in this zone. This doesn't make enough movement for me intraday to really trade. Yeah, the RSI may look appealing, and yeah, the MACD may look appealing, but we have to keep in mind that this is still in a downtrend overall. Jumping into the 5-minute chart, like I said, this thing made the same move intraday almost as Nvidia. It got shorted in the early morning, and then made up its grounds. We have earnings coming up tomorrow afternoon. So I wouldn't personally touch this tomorrow at all until after earnings. I mean, maybe it could have a run up or a sell off into earnings, but for me, it's just not worth it to trade the week of earnings reports. Netflix was the third stock that I was asked to analyze. Um, I don't think Netflix is going anywhere. So I know we had this huge sell-off from earnings reports, but Netflix is like they're like Disney to me. They're around. They're gonna stick around for a while. They're not going anywhere. Um, I think long term this is gonna make up its grounds. We could see that it already sold off, right? And after earnings, and then it's made this like massive push back to the top side, and we've even gotten into this gap area where we're starting to fill. We hit this resistance zone right here, um, about the 335 level. We could see, yeah, 1, 2, 3 times it was previously used as support. And it's kind of, if you think of this as a zone, it was kind of used this area right here, just under the 200 EMA. Um, is definitely an area to watch out for on this stock. Getting into the 5-minute chart, I would also expect this to range trade tomorrow. I'm not saying that it will, but I just feel like the market right now is really hesitant, and so we're getting a lot of this like up and down movement where nothing's moving, nothing is breaking out or breaking below really. So on the past 3 days, ever since that sell off, we had a major push up. We could expect it hit that resistance, sold off. So I would be maybe looking for more consolidation before a move up. If this were to make the watch list tomorrow, which depending on pre-market movement, if we get close to this 337 level, I may make a call out on this because going back to the 1-day chart, we get close to this 337 level, we're breaking into that resistance area, and look, we have a gap. I mean, we do have a gap to fill here, but more importantly, we have room to the top side, about 343 underneath this 200 EMA. So I would probably say my zones to take this long would be a break above 337.30, maybe just a break above this high here. And I would expect to short it below about 329. About, yeah, 329, 328 to 329, somewhere in this range. Snapchat, Snap was the next one that we were going to look at. This one is an interesting one. So actually, I'm going to back out even further to the weekly chart for Snapchat. For the first time since it's listed, we've claimed this 200 EMA on the weekly, which doesn't mean much. But I mean, well, it means we're moving up. But more importantly, we have this nice movement up coming from Snapchat. I mean, all the way from, where was this thing at? $5, $4 not too long ago. So if we go into the daily chart, we can see we've just been grinding up on Snapchat. And to be honest, I don't know how this thing keeps beating earnings, but it did. So that was the cause of this nice range move from 15 to 1830 a few days ago. The thing to be wary about on Snapchat is that it's curling over. So this right here is obviously a bearish candle. But if you look at that bearish candle in conjunction with the RSI, which is overextended, And the MACD, you can kind of see the MACD starting to curl over. Keep in mind, these are all lagging indicators, so you have to be like 1 day ahead on these things. Kind of where can we expect this to go? If you look at the 5-minute chart, you can even see it's starting to curl down, right? And even after hours today, it fell even more after hours. I would expect it to maybe come down and test 17 again before moving up. And this also is range trading. I can see that between $17 and $18 right there. So I would expect this to come down and probably test 17 again before making another move up, if it makes another move up at all. One other thing that I wanted to point out, if we go back to the 1 day chart, is that we are on Snapchat here. We are way overextended off of the 200 EMA. And I think, stocks move in waves. So we push up, we pull back, we push up, we pull back, we push up. And not only are we extended off of the 200 EMA here, we're also pretty far extended off of the 50 EMA here, which we can see we have a tendency to gravitate back to. So I would expect this to come down and test some level, maybe even the top side of this 9 EMA here before making any type of move up. And finally, MYL was the last one. On the 1 day chart, this doesn't look too good. It's just been in a constant fall for the past year. Yeah, about a year and a half. But they recently did have, I think, decent earnings and merger news with Pfizer on, what was it, EpiPens and Viagra. So this one's more of a fundamental. I think this is more of a fundamental trade here. This is more of a fundamental jump than a technical analysis. I can't do too much technical analysis on this. There's not a whole lot of patterns that I see here. One thing I do want to point out though is look at the volume. So on earnings day has this big volume spike and then just like this very minimal trading volume spike, very minimal trading volume. Here we got a little more volume, but then very minimal trading. So I don't know if the merger news is going to make a big difference, but I would expect this volume spike to kind of dwindle off and this thing go back to being basically a pump and dump stock, if you ask me. But what I do like on the 5-minute chart is that we did have a lot of volume today, and we have a nice trading range. So even though this thing got shorted down from 24 to 19, this move from 19 back up to 21, 22 is about an 8% move. And then on the flip side, from 21 back down was a 10% move. So you had a chance, if you traded this thing today, you had a chance to make money, a good amount of money, both ways. Those are pretty big moves, right? So maybe we could expect a little bit of that kind of range, that big range trading for the next couple of days. Since the name is hot, I've seen it. I've seen it around on on FinTwit quite a bit. But I would be interested in this to see if it holds 21. If not, I would short it.